in my office, distinguished author, professor, fellow Temple alum, Mr. Marc Lamont. I'm sorry, Dr. Marc Lamont.
It's good, man.
What's happening, son?
Man, it's good to be here.
Man, it's good to have you here, good brother.
Always a pleasure to rap to you, man. You always doing important stuff, man.
Hey, I'm doing important stuff. You're doing important stuff.
I'm trying to keep up with you, man.
Man, please. You run a marathon. I'm just getting my sneakers tied, man. So let's just talk a little bit about everything that's been going on. First of all, let's talk about local stuff, and then we'll move into national stuff.
Yeah.
What are your feelings behind this flash mob? What the mayor is doing about it, and the perception of what's happening with young people, especially young people who look like you and I, in the media behind this?
Yeah, well, you know, the first thing, I haven't had a chance to talk to the mayor about his comments. I'm actually supposed to talk to him later today, and maybe after that I can say a little bit more about what his position is. I know what was said publicly, right, which is that these kids should be ashamed of themselves, that they
disgrace their race.
They're disgracing their race and so forth. And I think that if that was said in the way that's suggested it was said, I think that's a major problem. You know, we have to think about youth violence for sure. We have to think about delinquent youth for sure. We also have to think about the structures and the forces that put young people in a position where flash mobbing is what's going on. So when you talk about curfews, when you talk about tougher laws, those are band-aids to a deeper problem, which is that we have schools that don't work. We have after school and out of school resources which are unavailable. We have parents that are working 2 and 3 jobs that physically aren't there, and we have a criminal injustice system which is committed to incarcerating rather than investing in young people. And whenever you use a language of containment and blame instead of investment and love, you're going to end up with this kind of circumstance.
Absolutely, and of course, you know, you've been no stranger to the wonderful police system yourself.
Oh man!
You know, and I'm not the kind of person who likes to speculate, so I like to ask the horse's mouth as opposed to the horse's ass. Was it one of those things where, because people have said that Marc Lamont Hill did it for exposure, I'm like, really? Does he need exposure in the Philadelphia paper? Like, I didn't get it. Like,
I have a national TV show. You know what I mean? Every market in the city. I need to be in the Tribune. You know what I mean? Like, no disrespect to the Tribune, but
not at all. But you're okay on that end. Exposure is not your problem.
I didn't want exposure. Every national media outlet contacted me the day after it was announced that I sued the Philadelphia Police Department. I took 0 interviews. I turned down CNN. I turned down Fox. I turned down MSNBC. I turned down NBC. I turned down CBS. I turned down everybody because I didn't want to make it a spectacle. My goal wasn't to get attention. It was to deal with a law enforcement issue as such. And so I went out there and spoke. I mean, I grew up, you know, in the hood like everybody else. It's like, this isn't the first time this happened. No. It probably won't be the last time it happened.
Probably won't.
But it's wrong every time. And because I have a platform and the ability to speak to an audience that won't hear another young black man my same age wearing the same clothes, I feel like I had a responsibility to speak out. And the fact is, you had this dude running the streets, still running the streets, really, like a bull in a china shop.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing that struck me as ironic was twofold. Number one, I've been in the South, and I remember I got my brand new Buick, and I was rolling because I want a big body luxury sedan. And I went, my lady at the time went to some Wendy's, so I went and got us some Wendy's, and I'm driving, and I got pulled over for doing a 30, I think I did 36 and a 35.
Yeah, like whole one night.
You know, 55 and 54, like, but it was literally that. And he says, "Oh, this is a nice car. How can you afford this?" And I'm like, "I'm on the radio. I write books. What do you mean?" And he's just like, "Huh." Okay, so I got his badge number and I called the mayor on the air. You know, I was 25. Like, you know, my response now would probably be different. But the thing that tripped me out was one of the dudes who pulled you over, like, you know, got a commendation from Obama.
Yeah. Well, in all fairness to the president, what happened was, you know, Officer DeCoatsworth, who we're talking about, was shot while pursuing someone. He was shot in the face. He continued to pursue the person anyway. It was a heroic stop. No doubt about that. You know what I mean? He got a commendation from the president. Since then, though, he has had a string of violations. You know, or let me not say violations. He has had a string of accusations. He is currently under investigation for at least, I want to say 3, maybe more, but at least 3 other incidents. He's had 5, 6, 7 complaints against him, that some of which are still lingering right now. 2 weeks ago, it was proven in a court of law by a forensic expert that Officer DeCoatsworth was not honest about what happened in another stop where he shot someone. He said the person was coming towards him. The forensics showed that the person was actually driving away from him. He shot the person in the back. So we know of multiple incidents where he pulled his gun and shot it. The average officer can go in a 50-year career without ever even pulling a weapon. This man is managing a 5-year, 6-year span tops. I think it's less than that, but probably in a 5-year span to have drawn his weapon multiple times.
Right.
Something's not right here.
Absolutely.
When I look at what he did to me that night and his behavior, his attitude, his actions, everything, and I look at what other people have said, you know, and I have people walking to me every single day, cops and civilians, who say this guy's a basket case. This guy needs to be taken off the streets. This guy can't be trusted. When you hear that constantly, something...
There's a common denominator.
Yeah, I ain't no friend of the police. I'm not an enemy to the police, but I'm not a friend of the police. I don't support the FOP. I don't go to their banquets. Right. But when police walk up to me on the street, police walk up to me and say, "Yo, thank you for taking that dude off the street." Yo, wow. Police say that. And they have a better code of silence than the mafia.
Absolutely. My brother's been a cop for 13 years, so I know firsthand. My father was a cop. I come from cops.
Yes, they don't. I'm sorry to hear that. But they don't snitch.
At all.
They don't snitch. And
At
cops
all.
Are like, "Yo, dude is wild."
Yeah, see, that's a bit much because cops are on some other type stuff.
That's all I'm saying.
You know, so it's crazy to me. But like, what goes through your head when you're sitting on a show like the O'Reilly Factor and they're just like attacking black people, but not really attacking black people with like the little side comments, like as a black man? And I know, you know, it's hard because we have this whole talented 10th thing on us because we have degrees and we're doing more than what people consider young black men to be able to do. How do you just, like, how do you keep your blackness in check enough to just not, like, wring somebody's neck?
Well, it's the blackness that keeps me motivated and animated to do this work. You know, I got into this business. I got into the line of work that I have. I got my PhD. I became a professor. I became an activist because I care about black people deeply and profoundly. And so any work I do in the public is in the service of that.
Right.
Now, there's enormous benefit to it, don't get me wrong.
Oh, without a doubt.
I ain't got no complaints.
No.
But at the core, it's a commitment to serving our people that drives me.
Right.
So when I'm on a show like, the O'Reilly Factor is probably not the best example because I actually, Bill O'Reilly and I actually, although we don't agree on anything, we actually get along very well.
Right.
But if I'm on another show, you know, and the person is unprincipled and they have this racist attack against black folk, I could jump across the table and smack the shit out of them, right?
Right.
I mean, that might even be the instinct that you have.
Right.
But what does that serve?
Absolutely not.
It's much better for me to stay in my seat, speak back with truth, armed with truth, win the argument. I might not convince the person across the table, but that's not the point of TV. The point of TV isn't to convince the person you're debating necessarily. It's to convince the 1 million or 2 million or 5 million people watching the debate, so that when they go into the voting booth, they might pull a different lever, or when they're presiding over a classroom or a courtroom, and they can make a decision about a vulnerable person, they may be able to see something in that vulnerable person that they could not otherwise have seen. That's my goal.
Right.
So when I'm on the show, that's what I'm thinking. You know, do I get frustrated? Yeah. Sometimes, as soon as I'm finished the show, I go out and just want to scream. But in the moment, all I want to do is fight back with truth. At least the truth, that my own fallible truth, the truth that as I understand it.
Right.
And bear my own imperfect witness to whatever's going on in the world. And then try to win. And if I do win, or the times that I do win, I think I win more than I lose on these shows.
I'll give you that.
I don't always win, but I win more than I lose, a lot more. When I do that, I've struck a blow for freedom, and if I'm doing that, I'm gonna feel good.
All right. So, what is it like when you're debating a brother who's a Republican? He's got the eyes like this. He's got the bad signal hairline. I can't call his name, but you know what I'm talking about.
You wildin', man. You know, I got jokes. I'm a silly dude, so I got jokes for everybody, either because of how they look or what they saying. And if it's a black Republican, I got like 15 jokes, man. So I mean, I got all kinds of jokes. And if you ever see me on the set of my own show, like off camera, like as soon as we break for commercial, I'm bugging. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm usually just playing jokes in my head, trying not to laugh. You know what I mean? And just waiting for the opportunity to hit Twitter or something and go in. You know? That's usually what I'm waiting for.
Oh man, what's the one thing that you think people don't know about you that you want them to know?
That's a good question, man. There's plenty of stuff people don't know. You know, I don't want people.
No, I'm talking about the things you do want them to know.
That's what I'm saying. There's plenty of stuff they don't know, but I want to keep it that way.
I mean, there's a couple things I don't ever want to hit the internet, but
I ain't got nothing like that. I ain't got no dark secrets, but I mean, I think it's just the work that I do when I'm not in public. You know, there are a lot of people who just talk for a living. You know, you make a good living doing that. You get a lot of attention. You can sell books. You can do all kinds of stuff just talking. But I think what I want people to understand is that I'm not just talking. I'm working, man. I've been an organizer for my whole life. I've been an activist my whole life. When I leave the studio, I'm working with the Philadelphia Student Union as one of the board members, organizing young people to organize for themselves, which is important. They have to organize for themselves.
Absolutely.
I've been working with tutoring programs. I started a hip-hop lit program. I've been working with the ACLU Drug Reform Project for, great God, almost a decade now. I've been in the drug reform movement for a decade now. You know, when you talk about, I mean, I could name other things, but I'm actively involved. Helped start My Fifth, a nonprofit organization, helping young people organize and talk about their legal rights and responsibilities. And then when things happen, whether it's fighting for political prisoners or whether it's trying to change legislation on drugs, I'm making phone calls. I'm organizing. I'm writing letters. I'm talking, and I'm not always doing it in public view because I don't think all the work we do needs to be seen. Yeah, we just need to do the work, you know. And I don't need credit for everything. It's things that other people take credit. There's some civil rights, like, you know who you are. There's some civil rights leaders out there who are taking credit for stuff. What'd you say?
Joe Jackson.
Don't go on. Now, you know what? No, see, I wouldn't even talk about them. See, I wouldn't even talk about them.
Tavis.
I'm gonna tell you something. Real rap. Al Sharpton, people say what they want about Al Sharpton.
Al Sharpton's the realest in the game. I don't care what nobody says.
Whenever I've called Al Sharpton for help,
he's always been there.
He's been there. In terms of getting young people to the podium, to the stage, to do their own work, he's been there.
Yeah.
I've known Jesse Jackson for a very long time. He's been a mentor and a friend to me. We don't agree on everything. No. But that's a big homie. You know what I mean? Just like, you know, so I got no problem with Jesse either. You know, I wasn't even going at Jesse. I'm talking about, it's not just the big ones, Jesse and Al.
It's the
it's actually the other ones that are the most cutthroat. The people trying to get there because they're not there for the right reason.
They're doing it for the shine, or because they want to go have dinner with the president.
Exactly.
Or sit up in the White House while talking about my dear sweet brother Obama. But I ain't gonna say.
Oh, see, you going on? You going in on my people?
I'm not going in on nobody. All I'm saying is,
I see what's happening, sir.
Mark.
I'm about to fight. I see what's happening, sir. That's what they do. They get real disrespectful. They start calling you sir. You're a communist, aren't you, sir?
No, I mean, for me, it's one of those things where, you know, I ride really hard for the president, pause. But, you know, I don't like everything he does. I love him. I voted for him in Texas. It was harder in Texas than any other state in the union when I lived there because they have these old laws on the books where you have to go vote, and that's only a part of it. Then you got to come back that night and caucus, which is like the craziest thing because they know
it's called suppression.
Come out and
it's a suppression tactic.
Right.
The harder you make voting,
the harder you know.
Yeah, the fewer people will vote.
So there it is. My thing with it, you know, is not that he's doing a bad job. I think he's doing a great job given his circumstances. I just wish he would go a little harder sometimes. I wish, you know, I don't like anything that Bush did. But the one thing I do respect is that he said, I'm the president, I'm the decider, and I'm going to do what I need to do. And regardless of whether or not that drove the country in the ditch, at least he said, I'm the president on something. As opposed
but there is this word called democracy.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I think President Obama has not exercised tough leadership at the most crucial times.
That's all I'm saying. There's a difference between democracy and diplomacy. He's a great diplomat.
Yeah, but
I need a president.
It's like Sonny Corleone told Tom Hagen. He's like, "Will you stop telling me how to patch things up? I need you to tell me how to win." You know what I mean? And that's how I feel sometimes. Obama's always negotiating for consensus and for peace. The problem is Republicans don't want peace.
No,
they don't want consensus.
No,
they want to win.
They want to win,
and they're winning. And they're winning every fight. That's my frustration. And the people who are paying the biggest cost for that is poor people. And so when I hear Tavis, you are not poor, sir. I mean, this is his office, y'all, so he ain't poor. If you got an office, you're not poor. You got celebrities signing the wall and stuff, man. People half naked on the wall with your name on it, between the whatever, you know what I mean? You ain't poor, sir.
No, I'm not poor, but
you just told a story about buying a new car, man.
No, that was when I was 25. I'm 33.
Yeah.
I used to live.
Y'all see this Maybach out? Can you we can't see the Maybach.
I used to sleep in that Jeep, Marc Lamont. I was homeless. I used to sleep in that Jeep.
It's a Porsche Jeep, sir. It's yours. It's more than my house. This guy is rich, y'all. Don't listen to what he's saying. But poor people are the ones paying the price right now. And, you know, when Tavis Smiley and Cornel West stand up and say, we need to put a spotlight on poor people, I agree with them. I have critiques of them, just like I have critiques of everybody.
Absolutely.
But I think fundamentally their idea of advocating for poor people, putting a spotlight on poor people, and forcing them to just say our damn name for one time. Say our name. is necessary. We can have an election cycle where poor people don't even get named. We talk about saving the middle class, protecting veterans, protecting senior citizens. We protect everybody but poor people.
Right, and I'm cool with that.
I'm not. Say my name.
No. I'm cool with advocating for poor people. What I'm not cool with is because the president is black, he is not the black president. He is a president who happens to be black.
That's for damn sure.
And so, if here's the thing, gay people, Jewish people, Italian people, Korean people, all hold people responsible for what happens for their base.
Yes. So let's do that too.
So let's do that as opposed to saying because he's black we need to do this.
No, it's not. No, it's because we're citizens. The problem is when we speak up and say Obama needs to do something for black people, the reactionary response we get is, oh, you think because he's black he's supposed to get something? I don't want him to give me something because I'm black. I want to give me something because I'm a citizen, and because if you want to be political about it, because we voted for him at a record pace. Nobody voted for Obama like Negroes.
That's very true. But if Obama had every Negro in the country, which he didn't, but if he had every Negro in the country vote for him, just them, he'd have lost.
If he had every Jewish American vote for him, he wouldn't have made it out of a primary. Ain't that many of them? I mean, if you really would be real about it, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
I'm with you.
You know, if he had, I mean, you could go on any group. If he just had union workers vote for him, he wouldn't win.
Right.
You know what I mean? If he just had white women vote, he wouldn't have won. Hillary Clinton would have won.
Right. But is it his responsibility to make us organize and hold him accountable, or is it our responsibility for once to get organized? We can't even agree on whether or not we should say the N-word. But
why do Negroes need to? White people don't have a white people meeting where they agree on everything. Why do black people have to agree on everything?
They don't have to have a white people meeting. It's called Congress.
Well, and that's my point. We can have this. We don't just need consensus. We need dissensus too.
Right.
There needs to be different arguments and different conversations going on in the black community. Now, obviously, white folk have a different. As you were just pointing out wisely, white folk don't have to have the same issues as us because they're in power already. However, we don't have to have consensus in order to move forward. The problem is when someone stands up at this moment in history and challenges President Obama, the first thing they say is, "You hating? You trying to bring him down? Where were you when Bill Clinton and George Bush was in office?" I mean, there are all these things they say, which might...
Some of those are valid, though, Mark.
But even if they're valid, they are beside the point. Even if I'm only picking on Obama because he's black, the fact is he still gave us a bad health care deal. We're still prosecuting an unjust war in Afghanistan. We're still prosecuting an unlawful war in Libya. You know what I mean? We still just gave the Republicans the spending cap they wanted and the constitutional amendments they wanted without a revenue hike, a tax increase for the wealthy.
I'm going to tell you how we solve this whole thing. Basically, we go to Yoda or whoever the Republicans are using to convince these poor white people and these poor people who are not black that it's a good idea to make sure the rich people stay rich by not taxing them. And then we can just flip it. You should make Obama accountable for poor people. You should make Obama accountable. I mean, where's the coffee party?
You can't.
That's what I'm saying.
You can't make it happen. Ain't gonna be no coffee party. See, the thing that stirs this whole drink is whiteness. As long as people can hang, whiteness is a power. Black and white are on opposite sides of the same coin.
Absolutely.
One has power.
The other one's black.
One means not white. You know what I mean? So what happens is when you end up with poor white people with no money in the world voting against welfare because they think they're voting against black people. That shows you the power of whiteness. When people vote against anything public in 2011 is considered bad. Public options, public transportation, public housing, public schooling, public intellectuals, don't matter. If it's public, people don't like it. And the reason they don't like it is because public means poor and it means black and brown. So they've convinced people, again, to racialize poverty. So that when people talk about giving money to poor people, all people hear is giving money to black and brown people.
Have they ever been to a trailer park?
It doesn't matter.
Have they ever been to Kensington?
But if you go to the trailer park, those are the ones with the Confederate flags. In 1936, W.E.B. Du Bois publishes a book, Black Reconstruction.
Yep.
One of the great books ever produced. And in the first, second, and third chapters, he breaks down the relationship between the slave, the white worker, and the planting class, the managerial class, the bosses. And his point is, he said, why would a white worker support slavery?
Doesn't make
any sense. Because as long as slaves are working for free, the slave masters don't retire, as long as slavery's going on, the white worker's always going to be out of luck. Because he's always going to be out because there's always somebody who can price him out the market.
Pretty much.
But they said what he accumulates by supporting the managerial class, the white bosses, is the psychic wages of whiteness. You get joy and power both internally, psychologically, psychically, and emotionally from closing ranks around whiteness. That's what it's about. That's why in 1980 you watch Donahue, even Oprah before she got right, and you had them shows about the welfare queen. This woman has, shit didn't even make sense. She has 3 kids and 5 baby daddies. Stuff couldn't even make sense. They would show these black poor women pimping welfare, so to speak, to turn the public sentiment against welfare. So that when you thought about welfare, you don't think about Becky and the projects. You think about Taquanda. You think about Precious. You know what I'm saying? Get down to the welfare, right?
Absolutely.
So that when Becky herself in West Virginia, who has 7 kids, the month is lasting longer than her money, she has no food. But when she sees that show and when she goes in that booth and she sees welfare reform, she's like, yes, I'm all for welfare reform because I'm tired of giving these people my money. She ain't got no money, but she's racialized poverty, and she gets benefit from being white.
Wow.
Which trumps her own needs. So people are voting against their own interests. The Bush tax cuts helped me. If I voted for the Bush tax cuts, y'all might be like, yeah, that's fucked up. But
at the end of the day,
but I'd be saving I'd be saving some money. And I don't support them because I don't think they're good for the nation. I don't think they're good for vulnerable people. Absolutely. But you got poor people voting against the Bush tax cuts.
Which is the dumbest.
It's the craziest thing I've ever heard of.
I don't get it. So what's the bottom line? Like, what do we do? Not just black people, but young people who are poor, who actually are going to inherit all of this mess we're facing. I mean, debt ceiling this, and healthcare with no public option that. Like, what's the bottom line?
We gotta organize, man. Same thing as always been. We gotta organize.
Okay, but how? Because we've been saying we gotta organize since my father was protecting Dr. King. Not on that day. Not on that day.
Did he get fired?
March on Washington. March on Washington. That day.
Okay, he did a good job.
He did a good. He made it to the steps.
Yeah,
he gave everybody a drink, kept pushing.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. We've talked about organizing, but we've also done it. August 20th, 1963, March on Washington does not happen if there isn't Bayard Rustin organizing. Right? If there isn't the A. Philip Randolph before that, organizing. If there isn't a Fannie Lou Hamer, organizing. There's a whole tradition of people organizing to make the March on Washington happen. But the march was beneficial not because people got together and heard a great speech, but because the Voting Rights Act and public accommodations of 64 and 65 happened in that reverse order. Right. So that was the benefit. Marching works. Organizing works. Petitions work. 2011, we need another set of issues to organize around. Issue-based organizing.
But don't we have a set of issues that we could organize around as long as you're armed?
We don't agree on them, and we're not mobilized around them. So that's what it means for us to go into communities and talk about these issues. If I were to walk into a room of black folk and say, how many of you know somebody in prison? Hands will go up.
All that.
2.3 million people in prison right now.
Right.
How many of you know somebody who dropped out of school? Hands go up. 50% dropout rate in urban areas. You know what I mean? How many of you know somebody with HIV/AIDS? Hands go up. HIV/AIDS affecting black men and women at record pace during the pandemic in the United States. Then you say, how many of y'all know somebody that's gay that wants to get married? Nobody's hands going up.
Yeah.
But we'll spend all of our energy and all of our time fighting gay marriage. Now, I happen to support gay marriage, but even if I didn't, that wouldn't be the issue. That wouldn't be my issue.
No, it's not on the list.
It shouldn't be on our list. But we've allowed other people to tell us what our issues are. So we'll be out there fighting gay marriage. You know what I mean?
Right.
Fighting the legalization of weed. I mean, ridiculous stuff. When our kids are going to jail at record pace. We have more black men incarcerated now than apartheid South Africa. We make up 5% of the nation, and America makes up 25% of the prison population. We talk about the axis of evil. We have more people incarcerated in America right now than Iraq, Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, China, North Korea, Venezuela, Cuba, all put together. So, what are we talking about? That's what we should be organizing around.
Yeah, but I mean, prisons are big business. I mean, just not only are they being privatized, they're being built on whether or not a kid in 3rd grade has a certain level of reading comprehension. And then on top of that, if you notice, there are no big prisons in major cities. All the prisons are in some suburb somewhere. And the population of that prison also gets added into the population of that town. So they're getting a really nice set of benefits from the government, and nobody says anything. But we all know that Tammy slapped Mika on basketball hours in Italy.
And that's the work that we have to do. That means that when you're on your radio, when I'm on the radio, when I'm on my TV show, when you're on TV, we have to go out there and change the conversation, but also change what counts as common sense. It's common sense that more people are locked up because more people are committing crimes. We have to change that common sense and say, wait a minute. If I go to University of Pennsylvania, right in West Philly right now on a Friday night. How many people can I arrest for public drunkenness, public urination, simple possession of marijuana?
Hundreds.
All of them. Shit. Faculty too. But we ain't looking there.
Nah.
But if I go to Southwest Philly, or the real Southwest, not the Penn Southwest, you know, if I go south of Chester, you know, and they sweep a block, you'll pick up people for the same stuff. We've stretched the net of what counts as a crime by criminalizing medical problems like drugs. And then we've deepened the net by making more penalties for stuff when people do get arrested. You know what I mean? So that a little girl in a school can have a pair of scissors or scream at a teacher and get carried out in handcuffs for disorderly conduct. We have to change what counts as common sense. We, as a community, have become so conservative. We've always been conservative, but we've become so publicly and unabashedly and uncritically conservative about so many issues that we sit on our hands while they carry our kids off to prisons. We have to change that. We have to change what counts as common sense. We have to fight back. And if we do that, we win. Now, that sounds like some pie in the sky and a great by and by kind of abstract stuff. I understand that. Okay. But the key is join an organization. So this doesn't become abstract.
Right.
Join an organization. Don't start one. I'm tired of everybody starting something. Join an organization. Join. It could be the Malcolm X Grassroots movement here in Philly, or it could be the NAACP. It could be the Urban League. It could be the Uhuru movement. There are a million movements on every part of the political spectrum. But join an organization and do work. Take on a project. I challenge the government more than anybody you'll ever meet in the public sphere. But I'm also at schools reading to people. I'm also mentoring these kids.
Absolutely.
I'm talking to folks. The biggest problem, if y'all remember nothing else I tell y'all today in this interview, the biggest problem in the world today is that there are too many people who don't do anything. It's really that simple. And as long as too many people continue to do nothing, we don't win.
He wins a lot more than he loses, though. Yo, tell him where to get at you, man. Tell him about Black Enterprise. Like, yeah, I mean.
Oh, man. See, I don't like to come here and sell some Black Enterprise. Our World with Black Enterprise airs TV 1 6 a.m. and also nationally. Check your local markets. You can also check me out on Twitter at twitter.com/Marc Lamont Hill. You can check out my website, marclamonthill.com. And in October, I have a new book coming out. It is co-authored with Mumia Abu-Jamal called The Classroom and the Cell, Conversations on Black Life. It's on Third World Press. All proceeds go to Mumia. All proceeds go to Third World Press. Check out the book, though.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 time out. Hold on, wait. You gonna go with Mumia? You just gonna slide that in there like?
I don't like to come on people's shows and sell stuff, man.
It's not about selling stuff.
That, I just talk, man. But you asking me, so
I mean, that's what I do, bro. That's the whole. Like,
I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm happy too. Now I want to read that book.
I'll send you an early copy, man. Yeah. You send me a copy of your book, I'm gonna send you an early copy. Right?
Common Sense Ain't Common available right now, all fine bookstores.
Boom, that's how you do it.
Yes, indeed. I don't mind pitching, because at the end of the day, man, the bottom line is we got to eat. Not that I'm missing a meal, but I got a kid. She's skinny as a rail, I promise.
I understand, man.
Yeah, I mean,
these kids get this habit, but they want to eat every day.
Every day.
Yo, I understand.
Then they like lights and clothing and
shelter, man. I got a 7-year-old. I understand, bro. So we got to make our money. We got to do what we do, but we got to keep at the forefront vulnerable people, man. Absolutely. And that's the work we're doing. That's what Mumia doing with this book. That's what we're doing with the organizing. I'll come back on. We can talk about the book and everything else.
Next time, man. Marc Lamont Hill. Make sure you check him out. This is an exclusive joint, man. I had to get him in here because y'all need to understand what's happening. Peace.
Appreciate that.